Hello everybody, welcome to London and very special welcome to the Royal Albert Hall. Today we're going to have the honour of having a little look at what's happening inside there, having a close-up look at the amazing sound system installation that's been done by D&B and SFL, and we're going to have a talk to someone very, very special. So let's go. Hello, Lucy.
Hello, David.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
That's good. Hello, everybody. I'm sitting here today with Lucy Noble, who is the just recently appointed Artistic Director for the Royal Albert Hall. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
What does your role entail then, the Artistic Director?
Well, kind of really everything about the operations of the building and putting performances on. So that, but also the visitor experience element, and so everything from when someone arrives at the hall, whether you're coming in through stage door, you're loading in the loading bay underneath, or you're an audience member, and then the experience they have, the bars and restaurants, our stewards, all of that area, the merchandise, retail, programming, production and technical, sponsorship and partners, and our engagement program. I'm going to be very busy.
Yeah, it's a familiar story to me. It's a big job, but it's a very, it's a very exciting job when the venue's buzzing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, and I think it's important to say that I have a brilliant team supporting me, obviously, and so it's not just me doing this, and I get to oversee it and direct it, but amazing heads of departments and other people that work with me to deliver all of this.
Yeah. Now, you obviously you didn't just arrive here.
No.
What was a little bit of your journey to the Royal Albert Hall?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have been here a long time, and I've actually been here 20 years.
Congratulations.
So a long time, and I think that's a really positive thing, and I feel like I've grown up with the Royal Albert Hall, but interestingly, I studied at the Royal College of Music across the road.
Oh, okay.
And I was a student there, and I came to London, and I actually stewarded here whilst I was a student. So I got to see all these amazing performances, fantastic shows, and I was gaining a strong knowledge of all these different genres without even really thinking about it. I was just sat there enjoying it, and after I'd shown people to their seats, of course. Then I went off and worked in other places. I worked as an agent. I worked in another venue called Sadler's Wells, a dance venue.
Okay.
Yeah, and then came back here, and I always loved it here. I remember when I was a steward, I was just 19 and a steward here, and I remember seeing someone that was doing a similar job to what I'm doing now, and I thought, that's the job I would like to do one day.
It's not unusual for people, we come from a sound background, so it's not unusual for people like us to also have had a music and performance background. Probably not quite at the same level as the Royal College of Music as you have, but what do you think it is about music that has informed or informs, your career, but also the way you look at life?
Yeah, I mean, this is a question that you could answer for such a long time. The value of music, and I've had many friends from when I was younger, and bringing communities together, making great friends, and for my job in particular, I use it all the time, and actually I use it more so now that the Royal Albert Hall actually produces some of its own concerts. So we make the concerts, we hire the music, we make the orchestras on some occasions, and actually, although I've been here quite a long time, it's now that I'm using the training that I had at the Royal College of Music. But to know about music, it is just really useful in any of these jobs, and to know how to listen really well, especially if you're working in audio, of course. And that's quite important when you're listening to a band or an orchestra. To have some knowledge is useful, I think.
Yeah. I read about the way the hall was kind of conceived, from Prince Albert. and he made a kind of a mission statement. You know, the hall is being built to enlighten the people. This is quite some statement, quite some mission. How do you feel? How do you carry that on still today? How do you think about that?
It's a very interesting question, and it's a big kind of comment to say, isn't it, or aspiration to have. But I hope that we still enlighten people. But what does enlighten mean? I expect it perhaps might mean something different today than it did then. And we always have to make sure that people are coming and having a really fantastic night. So they come here and have an experience like none other. And people do come here because they know it's going to be very special. And I hope they are enlightened in whatever way they feel they are enlightened, whatever that means. They might have come and brought their child to one of our small mums and baby sessions with a musician in this area we're sat in, or they might have come to see a world-class famous artist on the stage, but they take something away from it, and we hope they go away feeling happy, and that they will come back and that they have a love for the Royal Albert Hall.
It's interesting the role that, for me, the performing arts centres play in establishing identities of places and communities and even cities, and in a case like somewhere like the Sydney Opera House, the identity of Australia, of the country.
Yes.
You know, that's really an interesting position to have, and a great responsibility. Even to kind of signal to a community that this is going to be a place that's going to move forward. And I think about somewhere like the Walt Disney Hall in downtown Los Angeles, which was a kind of a no-go area for a long time.
Yeah.
And they put that amazing Gehry structure down there.
Yeah.
And the whole area now kind of builds up and provides a viable place now for the community, and has become very vibrant. Do you also see that as part of your role, that it goes beyond the actual walls of the venue?
Yeah, absolutely. And in many ways, the engagement program that we run, we engage with around about 200,000 participants each year, and they tend to be from the local communities. We're responsible for the strategic music education planning in 150 of our local schools. So it's very good examples of how we do that. But also we have a challenge, because people, whilst we're an international and national icon and people love us, we are known as, people think we're traditional. They also think that we can be quite closed off. And so there's still a lot of work to be done so that all communities know that they're welcome at the Royal Albert Hall. And of course they are. Yeah. And we know that, but do they know that? And that will be the next step for us, to open the building up even more so that everyone feels welcome, and that's a real hub. From
my experience, venues have a personality about them. You know, some might be referred to as a he or a she or whatever. How would you describe the personality of the Royal Albert Hall? Do you have a way that you think about that?
I suppose I see the Royal Albert Hall as being warm, loving, kind. That's how I see it. Others may see it in other ways. And I think that's the thing. I think people perceive it in different ways, because one night they might be coming to see a prom, and then the next night they might be coming to see, Eric Clapton. And so they see it in different ways. And that's the good thing, it's kind of everything for everyone.
Yeah. And at the heart of it, what we do in our industries, the venue, artistic, entertainment, technology ecosystem that we share, it's still a reasonably traditional model, isn't it? Don't you think?
You mean just a general venue model?
Well, it's people buy a ticket, they get a seat, and they watch a show.
Yeah.
How do you feel that's changed in the perimeter? I mean, the essence of it is the same. You buy a ticket, you come to a show. What elements do you see changing around the performance model?
I think we've come out of an interesting time, haven't we, where people have moved to watching performances from their living room because they couldn't go to see it in person. And to begin with, stats show that to begin with, people really engaged with doing that. And then during the pandemic, the figures dropped off.
Yeah.
And whilst lots of people, if you ask the question, did you watch a gig online, they did. And then you say, and will you continue to do that? Most, the stats then drop because actually they really want that live, traditional, model performance, because that's what they love. Having said that, people expect more with that experience, and we're very content driven, aren't we? Everyone's looking at their phones, and we're looking at what can we offer in terms of online wraparound content for performances. It might be interviews backstage, it might be other podcasts, or anything that can make the experience slightly more immersive, but without detracting from the live performance, so adding to it in a positive way.
Okay, it's like an augmentation of
yes,
the
yeah.
Well, the D&B community is very proud to have been chosen by the Royal Albert Hall to provide the sound system upgrade, which was done a couple of years ago now.
Yes, maybe more, I think.
Yeah. That was a really big step forward. What was the driver and the thinking behind what to change the sound system? What was the main thing that you were trying to achieve?
I think there were lots of reasons, really. We're one of the world's most famous venues, and much of what we do is very high quality and we have control over. But with the sound, we didn't have control, actually. And so we had lots of different systems coming in, touring setups, and it didn't always work. And some nights the sound might be pretty good, and other nights, to be quite frank, it was awful. And then the trouble is you begin to get a negative reputation for that, and it affects the feedback that you get from customers, it affects their experience of an evening. So we felt that this was a big part of the jigsaw puzzle, to complete the jigsaw, to make everything really high quality. So we decided to put in our own system. So that was the first thing. And then we wanted to make sound more equitable across the whole venue, because as you knew, we were kind of throwing the sound from above the stage, but now we have speakers around in the gallery, the circle, in all the boxes, to service every area so that everyone comes in and they have excellent sound. And to have control. And I think this autumn, the system will be used 100% of the time for all shows.
Wow.
And when we first put it in, we thought it would take a while to get some of the big rock and pop promoters on board. But then once they've used it and they realise, actually, A, it's much better, and B, it's easier. They don't have to bring in, and actually it's more sustainable as well, isn't it? And as soon as they realise that, and it's actually been quite an easy ride, and now everyone's using it. So we're really thrilled about that.
That's fantastic what you said. I mean, one of the archetypes of our brand is democracy for listeners. We are obsessed by ensuring that everybody gets the same sound experience with the systems that we design. You're not like a technical person, but I guess you had to make a decision around who you were going to partner with. What was at the heart of feeling good about D&B? What was it about that made you feel, they're the people?
Yeah, I think aside from the excellent system and sound, which obviously was a major factor, we need to work with people that we feel can fit within the Royal Albert Hall family. That's really important, that we work with people that share the same values as us, work in the same way, have the same, have common goals, and we very much felt that about D&B, and it felt right, and we made the right decision.
Yeah. You talked as well about the little details, and I've been to a show here, and in one of the boxes, and there are little. It's called a 4S, the little box that sits in those loges.
Yeah.
And it's such a level of detail that must have really been driven not just by the sound designer, but really by the hall itself, because that's a real precision quality that you've gone for.
Yes.
Was that really what you set out to do from the start? Did it have to be at a higher level for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was interesting with the speakers in the boxes, we did talk about that quite a lot. And at one point, we were going to do that as a second stage. And then we thought, actually, if we're going to do this, we need to do this properly, fully the first time round. And so we decided to put those speakers in the boxes. And the clarity of sound, because of that, is fantastic now in those boxes, because the ceilings are quite low. Often as soon as you kind of stood in the back, you were losing a lot of the clarity of the sound, and that has really helped with that.
Yeah, it really impressed me that the venue had that vision, and I know it came also from within the technical team. And
absolutely. I mean, our production technical team worked really hard and were very passionate about the project and about getting it right, and that was a strong driver in all of this.
Doing an installation in such a venue can't be easy. Were there kind of heritage permissions and things that had to be thought through? Yeah,
we're a Grade 1 listed building, and just the cabling alone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was just vast. The amount of work that had to be done to just the infrastructure before you could actually bring in the speakers.
We talk about one of the things that's really advancing in our industry is the concept of immersive sound, which is this kind of ability to spatially place sound. And we've done a couple of shows here with that technology.
Yeah.
When Kraftwerk were here, we did 3 nights, and I think on the Knit and Sawney,
with your soundscape.
there was a couple of nights of that. But I guess to you as an artistic director, immersive also means a little bit, has a broader connotation.
Yes, yeah.
How do you think about it? How do you try and achieve that when you're programming?
In terms of getting an immersive experience, I suppose it's the other things that I was talking about earlier. What can we offer everyone? And it might be about a more immersive sound, but it might be about their overall visitor experience to the Royal Albert Hall. And how do you connect what's on stage with the people, the audiences and the people that are watching and listening, and because you need to immerse them before you do anything else. And I think we've done that really well, and I do think that the sound system has helped massively with that.
Yeah, and I get spontaneous feedback from people who don't even know that I work for D&B or whatever, who tell me they've been to something at the Royal Albert Hall, and I kind of know it from my own background as well, having done something similar, that it really is transformative. Has it allowed you to program differently?
I think no, the answer is no, actually, but it allows us to program with confidence, knowing that we can produce an amazing
great
sound.
result. Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying about people complimenting you, I think we used to get lots of complaints about the sound.
Right.
And people tend to complain rather than say something's good. But now we've moved to a situation where people are actually writing to say the sound was amazing, and we don't have the complaints. So that's to shift from that to the positiveness of it has been great.
I remember I came in during the process of the proposal sort of system. I came in, and Steve Jones, who worked on the design, did something I was very proud of. He showed your programming matrix, and he showed how the different styles of programming you're doing and the system, how they would be compatible.
Yes,
and that would be basically about a 90% match.
Yeah.
I thought that was a brilliant way to position the design against your business model.
I thought, it was very useful. And Steve literally lived at the Royal Albert Hall during the installation, and then when it was up and running in those first few months, it took up a lot of his time.
To hear you say it would now be 100% for the next...
for the autumn, and then
is really fantastic to hear.
Yes, thrilled.
So we got the system up and running, and then a little thing came along in the globe, didn't it?
Yes.
Which has been quite disruptive on many levels for all of our industries, but for the live event industry especially so. How did you go from managing putting shows on to managing putting shows off? How was the pivot in the Royal Albert Hall?
It was challenging, and I think to begin with, I think we all left. It was a date in March, went home, because we were closing, and we all thought, oh, we'll be back in 3 weeks' time, and we had no idea that this was going to go on for nearly a year and a half, and it was really hard. So the programmers in my team had to go from programming to cancelling, and then they would move. So we moved everything to the autumn, and then we had to move everything to the spring, and then we had to move everything again, including all the customers. And it was challenging. And I mean, I personally got involved in a lot of the government talks to the music industry. What was really interesting is that we didn't have a voice. The music industry in this country didn't have a voice with government. And I remember going to a meeting, and theatre was very well represented, and they weren't talking about the music industry at all. And so we kind of had to mobilise quickly, and within 2 months, we'd kind of insert ourselves to the middle of the conversations, which we had to do that before we could start to influence. But at the end of the day, we couldn't really influence. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and we weren't going to open until it was safe to open. And but we're here now, and we've done shows virtually every day since the 19th of July, when we were able to open, and we're still going strong at the moment. So keeping everything crossed for the next few months.
It's interesting what you say about the music industry, and I guess the broader events industry not having a voice. But we did come together in a way. I think we became aware of ourselves as a bigger ecosystem than we previously really thought about. I mean, it's obvious, everything from the warehouse to the truck to the catering to the front of house to technical artists, everything. We're all part of something. We're all connected. Yeah. And like you say, but we didn't really, we didn't have that unified voice.
No. But I mean, and you're absolutely right. But we did come together, and the music industry here has created a body called Live.
Okay.
And so it's all the chairs of the various associations. I'm the chair of the National Arenas Association, representing 23 of our arenas, and then you've got the Concert Promoters Association. You've got the agents, the managers, the festivals, and we all came together and created this group. And then there's a kind of exec board, and there's a wider group where around about 80 influential music industry people attend. And that's the first time that we've come together in that way and had a voice together, and it's been so beneficial.
Yeah, and same on the technology or manufacturing side, and the event services side. We formed an organisation called We Make Events, and so that became a kind of, shall we say, our way of banging the drum.
Yeah, and you did very well, all of you.
And a lot of it came out of the UK, which was really fantastic,
did,
and then it kind of lit off globally.
Yeah,
it's just fantastic. I noticed that the hall and yourself, Craig, the CEO, were quite often positioned in the media through that time. And I always look at that and I think they really do like to drag the arts out when it suits them. They don't always like to pay the bill. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
How do you feel about the balance between government versus self-funded? How should that be really evolved to the next level?
I think the Royal Albert Hall was given a £20 million loan by government, and we will have to pay that back. But we are positioned as an iconic venue for the country, and often the Royal Albert Hall is the backdrop when someone's talking about the arts, and you do feel like it's slightly disconnected, the two. And I mean, we've never had public funding. We are always, completely independent. So hence my artistic role looks after all the commercial side as well, because we are artistic, but we have to make money, because that's how we survive. We don't get any other funding. And we actually like it that way, and to be independent. But in a situation like that, when you're talking about a national treasure, it would be nice to have been given the £20 million.
But you're also representing the entire community, the people who aren't at the Albert Hall, the people who are on the way up, or maybe playing small clubs or whatever.
Yeah. Everyone was impacted. Yeah. And some of those people did get money from the Cultural Recovery Fund, as it was called, which they don't have to pay back, which is great. And so it was helpful to some people.
Yeah, I think we learnt a lot about the value of entertainment and community through that time, and it's why it feels so special to be able to come back and see some concerts and come to these lovely venues again and feel really special.
Yeah.
You mentioned just before something else, another hat that you wear, which is you're the chair of the UK Arenas Association.
National Arenas Association.
National Arenas Association.
Yes.
So that's another interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's been interesting because we're really the only non-arena. It has to be 5,000 capacity plus to be a member. And all the others is places like Manchester Arena, the O2, NEC in Birmingham, Wembley, etc. And so that's been very interesting for me. But interestingly, it's really a body that shares best practices, and then we would have 3 meetings a year.
Yeah.
And it was very good. And then the pandemic happened, and I really took on the role at the wrong time, you know. And
all of a sudden you were very busy.
I got propelled into this like government position, and which has been fascinating, but it's taken up a lot of time. And but it had to be done, you know. We needed to have that voice. But it's great to have that perspective, and it's great to be able to talk on behalf of other venues when you're talking to them.
Are there any insights you can share? You know, how are the arenas thinking now? Because I imagine the model is going to have to adapt somewhat, and not just because of pressure from the pandemic or requirements around the pandemic and managing hygiene and access. But I also think about something like sustainability, which now drives a lot of thinking, a lot of change. Is there anything you can share with us about insights from the Arenas Association?
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is high on the agenda. Now that COVID's slightly, you know, kind of calmed down, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but sustainability is huge, and we talk about it all the time. We talk about, you know, from how do we get carbon neutral performances on the main stage, and some arenas you have those aspirations, through to what are you drinking your drink in when you come into a venue. And so we've done a lot of work around, some people have gone for recyclable cups, some people are going for biodegradable cups, so, you know, and everything in between. And this is the next big thing for venues, and it has to be addressed front on.
Yeah, it's interesting, the discussion around sustainability, and you talk about the logistical complexity you faced before with the hall of, say, sound systems being taken in and out, and lighting systems. And we know that transport is quite a big driver of the carbon footprint of an event, on a touring event. Is there a discussion, I mean, maybe you can't tell us, but is there a discussion amongst the Arenas Association that maybe having a model a little bit more like the hall in the arenas is something they should be looking at?
I mean, I think they should be, obviously. But I think everyone would be thinking about that, actually. And where is the sense, if we're talking about a sound system in particular, in bringing in a sound system and trying to crowbar it around an existing one, or take out an existing one which won't be bespoke for the venue. I mean, for us, this model works brilliantly because it is bespoke and no one can compete with it. They can't. So there's absolutely no sense in using all those trucks and bringing in a sound system. And that would go for other technical equipment as well. And there is a big sustainability reason, you know, for us to bring things like that in-house too.
Yeah, I wonder whether the programming model might also, people might do more residencies or something like that, like where the artists, you know, like we've seen Billy Joel do Madison Square Garden for 1 million nights or something. Those kinds of things that might...
Yes, I think so.
But also allow you to leverage the cultural tourism aspect with the city.
Yes, No, I think that's a good point. And the Coldplay tour, which has just been announced, is all about sustainability.
With the world's most ecologically sustainable sound system on it. Which is the D&B.
I didn't know that. There you are.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got to put a plug in there. Well, it's because we don't just control the power draw, so it's a 50% less power draw on the system than a standard system, but also the environmental impact for outdoor events. So we have a new technology now that doesn't put anything behind the system, it only goes forward. So it allows a much cleaner experience for those who are in the surrounds of the event.
Yes. Amazing. Congratulations on that. That's great.
Well, I think it's important. I think being a company where an alignment of values, you talked about that earlier. I think the values piece on, say, sustainability, diversity,
Yes.
will become critical for supplier selection, not just technical compliance.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Is there a discussion within the arenas as well about the role that, say, streaming or a kind of a hybrid connection will play?
To be honest, no, not really.
Right.
Because some of us have tried it, and it is expensive. The rights are difficult for the ones that are successful, and we did some which were, sold lots of tickets, and we did some that didn't sell any. And so it's an unpredictable and inconsistent model.
Yeah.
But we will be looking to see what we can do with that on the peripheral. But, the Royal Albert Hall and arenas, at the end of the day, it's about a live experience. That is at the heart of what we do. But we must, of course, move forward as well. So we don't want to be left behind. I mean, there's this new ABBA venue that's open, which is all being done with holograms. Is it holograms? That
Holograms of the four.
Yeah,
And
as one
the
example.
band is live. So that's an interesting.
Yeah, so it's an example of where it's a hybrid, as you called it. That is a hybrid performance.
Yeah.
So it might not be streaming, it might be something like that. But I do think there's nothing like a live experience.
Like a true venue person would say.
Yes.
I'll just touch on diversity a little bit as well, because our industry is, as much as we would like it not to be, is very male, particularly on the production technology side. You have an audience. What more should we be doing, do you think?
I think it's about the talent pipeline, actually, and addressing it at the grassroots. And all of us want to be diverse in our organisations. And I think with us, when we interview for a job, at the moment we don't have people from a diverse range of backgrounds even applying for the jobs. So why is that the case? And what do we need to do? We need to think about what we can do at the ground level and at grassroots level to help have more diversity within the workforce. And I mean, I'm a senior female in the music industry, and it's very male dominated at that level. There are women, of course there are, and for whatever reason it is male dominated. But if you look to the people who are kind of more junior, it's more equitable there. So it's definitely coming through, I think.
It's a conscious effort that we have to make.
Yes.
Not just sit and hope.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We have to make some moves, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
When you think now about your time and your experience as a musician, and then here at the hall, having come through, COVID. What do you see the greatest challenges for our industry?
I do think it's sustainability, actually. I think it's not so much that it's a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge for us to be more sustainable because of the nature of our business. But I think that should be the thing that we're all focusing on now. Of course, if we came into another pandemic, that's a huge challenge. And I think that's what's entered my mind now, the unexpected, because this is something that's happened that we just never would have dreamt would have happened, and it has. So how do you plan, how do you keep your businesses sustainable, but then thinking about the sustainability of the planet as well?
So have you looked into the resilience of the hall's model to think, okay, well, if the main stage stopped tomorrow, how would we continue in some form? Is that something that's been driving strategy?
Yes, we are thinking about that all the time, and we learned a lot during the last pandemic, and so we're thinking about other ways of digitally expanding the brand. So, for example, thinking about things like starting a Royal Albert Hall label.
Okay.
So that should be interesting. Yes. Sure, we'll be speaking to you
Well,
about
I think
that.
I think I know what the label might look like, which is one great advantage you have. You know,
Yes,
you have an iconic structure
Yes.
that's globally recognised. So that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I guess I would also ask then, what do you think the biggest opportunity is for our industry?
It's quite a difficult question to answer. I think there's opportunity to welcome more people, actually, and to grow even more across the whole industry. I think there's opportunities for us to work with new artists. You know, there's also these problems that the new artists aren't coming up. I think it's about opportunities for us to be able to support big endeavours and to make sure that the industry is sustained as a whole and continues to grow, and how we need to think innovatively about how we do that.
Yeah, I'm expecting a real, another renaissance of some sort. 'Cause I'm sure there's been a lot of incubation of creativity.
Yeah, definitely.
On a technical side, or on
Yeah.
a performance side, or a program side. You know, so I am expecting that there's going to be a kind of a big new wave that is going to kind of come as people have processed and then move forward, because it's really artists that we look to, don't we, to kind of help show us the way.
I mean, there's so many YouTube sensations, and artists are coming up that way, aren't they? And so, you know, and how do we develop those onto the live stage?
Yeah. Well, Lucy, thank you so much for your time
No problem.
talking to us today.
Thank you.
On behalf of D&B, on behalf of all of our global partners who are gathered around the world watching, we're really grateful for your time and your insights and your support of D&B. You know, having our system in the hall is something that makes us feel very special. You know, but I think any venue where we have our systems and we know that we're giving value to artists and audiences makes us feel special.
Yeah, and we're extremely proud to work with D&B, and thank you for your support throughout everything, from the installation system through the pandemic and coming out of it. And, you know, we have a very bright future together. We very much look forward to that.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lucy.
No worries.